Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-filled discussion for Peacemaker Season 2. Hey, my mama taught me to be proud of my freckles. Hello, I'm J-Law, but you can call me Justin. And if you're joining us for the first time, well, we are Geekcentric, a podcast covering the world of movies, TV shows, toys, collectibles, gaming, and all things Geekcentric. And this is our spoiler-filled discussion for Peacemaker Season 2. Joining me for today's chat are two guys who'd fit right in to the 11th Street Kids crew. First up, the man who'd probably argue with an eagle if he had the opportunity to, Mr. Nate Shelton. How are you?
Dude, have you seen my Beanie Baby collection? It's incredible. It's not quite as good as Adrian's, I don't think, but I was so happy that
Do you have a closet full of them?
It's not a closet, but a basement, maybe. Yeah.
A basement. Wow. So instead of drugs and money,
no,
yeah, I feel like instead of drugs and money,
bins.
it's Beanie Babies and stuff, right?
Listen, if we crack open those Beanie Babies and there's money in those, I thought they were going to be worth a lot because I have a Beanie Baby handbook, Justin, and it said by the year 2000,
a lot of people were thinking that it was going to be worth a ton of money,
including Adrian.
Also joining us is a fellow geek who has more facts than anyone else about anything, Mr. Darcy Hudson. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm hoping my facts are more true than Adrian's. Like, I like to think I actually know what I'm talking about.
Quick, Darcy, what's the dirtiest dirt?
Okay, trick question. It's all dirt, man.
This was a fantastic season of television, which is why I thought we should probably get together and talk about it. Peacemaker Season 2 definitely delivers some surprises. And, just as a quick reminder, we did do a spoiler-free review for the first 5 episodes of the season. So if you haven't heard that, you can go check that out on podcast feeds. It is spoiler-free, but, if you've seen it, you kind of understand what we're talking about to a certain degree. And it's just a great primer. But, going into the rest of these episodes, Gunn actually mentioned when talking to like Brandon Davis that the reason why press and others were only given the first 5 episodes for review was because there was a lot that would play out in 6, 7, and 8. And yeah, it makes total sense now after seeing those, because those last 3 episodes are just packed with some really big revelations, some emotional payoffs, and just kind of completely reframe some of the aspects of the story. And we won't get into like full recap mode here, but obviously after the events of episode 5, where Chris is making peace with his own universe and deciding to go pursue a new life in the alternate universe where everything is perfect. His dad's a decent person. He has his brother. He has a relationship with Harcourt. The 11th Street Kids aren't wasting any time, and they're going after him. And at the end of episode 6, upon them arriving and kind of trying to find Chris, it's revealed that this alternate universe is actually called Earth X. This is the universe where the Nazis won World War II. And I gotta say, to see ads running down the street with a bunch of like weaponized white people, like if you've seen Weapons, but like it was like to see that again was insane. And that was one revelation. And then in episode 7, there was a few, but I think the biggest one really was that Augie, Chris's father, seemingly might not have been the racist that we had known him to be from the past season in Chris's actual life before he died. And that presented something very interesting, but that was short-lived, of course, because he met his demise pretty quickly. But that left Keith broken, enraged, and it was a really good origin story for a villain, which then leads us into our finale. But before we talk about that, I want to throw it to you guys. What did you guys think of episode 6 and 7? Was there anything else that stood out to you that was really noteworthy?
No, I just got to say the way that they hid this in plain sight, like going back and watching some of those earlier episodes after the revelation that Earth X is is weird. I mean, we all kind of picked up on it was too good to be true, but we didn't know,
Yeah.
couldn't really put our finger on it. And the
Mhm.
way they brought to our attention with Harcourt being driven by Keith and like really looking at things, and you're starting to realize, oh, this is why I feel off about it. It's because it's going that direction. And just again,
Mhm.
masterful work to just hide all that stuff in plain sight, but really because Chris was so happy we weren't looking and focusing on stuff. But Harcourt, of course, a bit more analytical, just broke it down. I just love the way that they used visual storytelling almost to both hide and showcase what was wrong with this alternate reality.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I loved seeing or hearing, those little things like Mick, Paul, George, and Ringo getting to see Adrian's reaction to Cheerios. Just all the little elements that they had going through this was fantastic, and I think the comedy in this episode really really shined. And a big part of that, I mean, we brought him up already 3 times already, but Adrian in this episode was so good. Him reacting to Infernape being his shared favorite Pokemon, and just all the little things of like not being able to. What is it? He can't poop if
He
somebody's
can't
touching him.
pee when he can't pee when something's touching his butt, and he looks down on people who can.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so good, so well done. The way they were able to slowly move out this reveal, and like you said, Justin, that moment with Adebayo, I was just like, please don't go outside, please don't go outside. And the way that she just starts cluing in, and he says one escaped or something like that. Does that mean they have a bunch of
Yeah,
black
it was
I mean,
implied, and I think in episode 7, Adrian
yes.
kind of says that like a lot of what they have is built off the backs of those that are
Well,
imprisoned or encamped or in
Well, even
forced
Augie
to
was
do
kind
it.
of getting mad at Keith for his reaction. Like, well, what you're doing? He's like, well, I thought one escaped, like from the camps type thing.
Yeah,
So
what are you
like, it's
doing? Like, yeah, he kind of like was just like, what that what do you how could you contribute to this kind of thing? And it
yeah.
was one of the little moments where it's like, what? That doesn't seem like Augie, and
Yeah,
that was
Augie
in
would
episode
normally be
7
praising something like that. You'd think,
for
at least in
sure,
this world.
for
I
sure.
want I want
Yeah.
to quickly bring up one more thing too, just in terms of if we're talking about like big moments that happened outside of that.
Mhm.
I mean, we see Lex Luthor in this episode,
Oh yeah,
right?
Right.
geez,
Yeah.
right.
We've
Yeah.
got Nicholas Holt back as Lex for the first time since James Gunn's Superman. And he mentions, and this is one thing I wanted to bring up with you too, because I wasn't sure about this, and I was kind of confused. A bear-sized man with dragon skin and a glowing twink with cartoon eyes. Who do you have any ideas on?
Well,
I think the bear.
people are saying
Sorry.
it's Killer Croc
Yeah.
and Dr. Phosphorus, but I
Yeah.
don't buy
Okay.
that because Killer Croc would be more than just being described as a bear. Like Lex wouldn't
Yeah.
call him that. I don't
He
see
wouldn't.
that
Yeah.
happening.
He's
And
too
also,
smart. Yeah. He's too
the
smart
anime
to call him
eyes
that.
thing does not match Dr. Phosphorus as we've seen him before. He has
Mhm.
no eyes. He's a glowing skull. Like
Yeah.
that is
I
not Dr. Phosphorus. I think that's just some random metahumans that Lex is just taking the piss on type thing.
Right. And I think metahumans are more of like it's just a thing in this
Mhm.
universe. It's not a slow revelation. They've this universe that we're in right now with Superman and Peacemaker, like metahumans are just a thing, right?
Oh yeah,
And
I mean,
and it
and
seems like that's fair. Like we don't need an origin story to how society got discovered metahumans. It doesn't need to start with like a Superman, right? Or something
yeah,
like that. It's existed, and it seems like, but even based on what Superman did, it was like to tell the story of, or at least at the opening there with some copy and some text on screen that they've been around for years, centuries, even, right?
yeah. And I think, I mean, Weasel being introduced in Suicide Squad and carried over through to the new DCU here just goes to show that not every metahuman needs to be this great villain or hero or anything. They could just be some random animal type
Yeah,
thing. Like
yeah, yeah,
it could be anything that is just some mutation of a human, if you will.
yeah. For me, I think episode 6 really just kind of stood out as being the most interesting because it really does, like you were saying, Darcy, with Harcourt kind of opening her eyes and kind of looking around. We never really saw Chris do that, right? It just
Hmm.
went to show like how blinded he was by everything good in this universe. His family, his relationships, his own happiness, and he completely missed everything wrong with it. And I think that commentary on the idea of like ignorance feels intentional, like what Gunn's doing.
Hmm.
It hits hard because it feels like it's a smart commentary on how privilege, especially white privilege, can make people overlook things that are happening right in front of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's very poignant in terms of like today, which makes it hit a lot harder. And Superman was already kind of had a little bit of that political fray in it with the war that was going on in the country I cannot remember. Do either of you remember that? I think
Baravia.
Yeah,
Baravia. Thank
there
you.
you go.
Yes, and it very much mirrored sort of a Ukraine Russia, but also like Gaza and Israel sort of
Mhm.
political uh, um, war strife that was going on. So to have that ingrained in the movie, people are already like, this seems like a commentary. This even feels more like a commentary given what's going on in parts of the US with
Hmm.
ICE and other things happening. So it all felt very purposeful. And then we get into episode 7 where it's just even highlighted more of his ignorance. Like
The
you
mural.
didn't yeah, no, but it was like a joke, right? Like you didn't see
Yeah.
the flags, right?
Yeah.
It placed in 3 beats. You didn't see the flags. You didn't see the
Yeah.
books, which were obviously written by Adolf Hitler. And then
Mein
it's like,
Kampf.
and the goddamn mural that was there. And it was just so obvious. And again, it just
Hmm.
highlights how
Yeah.
Chris was just so hypnotized by the other elements that he didn't stop to think about what was actually going on. But he obviously in episode 7 he switches pretty quickly, and that whole opening scene when they're like running out, like they've robbed the bank and
Hardcore decks a
he's
guy in
just
the face
smashing.
with a Mein Kampf. That's my favorite part.
I love
Like,
this. I love the face smash that
yeah.
Chris does on the way out to that one guy. It was great, and even just the little when they shoot out of the Argus building in the and
I
they
was
don't
aiming for the
necessarily, it was
door
very
as he
ungraceful.
smashes through
It
the
felt
window.
it felt like it was going to be epic, and then it just ended up being really silly. But like I moving into like episode 7, that revelation there with just Augie not being a racist, right? And
Oh.
us and him, and him by I mean Chris, having this realization together, like a shared realization with a character in a moment where, wow, this guy isn't the same guy that he knew or that we knew from the other universe. He's entirely different, and in a world full of racism, it's somehow incredible how his character in this universe, it shaped him into be someone, I guess, more empathetic, maybe a little bit more understanding. We don't know entirely where he sat, but it was clear that he didn't believe in the ideology, and he made that much clear before he died at the hands of
Mhm.
Vigilante, which I was just like, why didn't Chris like kill him after all of that? You know what I mean?
Shock, man. And plus, he loves Vigilante. Well, I think what's really interesting about it, I mean, even James Gunn has gone on record since the revelations that like he wasn't a good guy by any means. He was a hero who was celebrated in this Nazi world. No matter how good you say you are, if you're you're kind of perpetuating that ideology, even if you're saying you go against it in your own room. I just think it's really cool that it again just goes to show that the this character, maybe his thing isn't that he's a racist, that he just stands against what like a regime or something like that. So in our world, he's just your typical Southern guy, wants this Aryan race supremacy thing, and now that he's in this universe, he just doesn't like the idea of maybe the supreme race or anything like that. It's just he doesn't like the regime, and I think that might be
Oh,
a
so
core
that's
character
the
thing. It's just
constant.
that's a constant, I think. If you want to
Sure,
try and look for constants, but again, it could just be again, he's not a great guy, but he's a better guy than we thought. Is I think all we
sure,
need it boils down to.
sure.
Well,
Yeah.
and he even says, because they're about to call the cops, he even says like, no, they're all monsters too. They're all
Yeah.
awful people too.
Mhm.
And I think it's also just interesting seeing this character who was so awful in our universe, or in the main universe, if you will. But here it's I love the complexity of like this father who is dealing with his two sons who he probably knows believe in things that he absolutely doesn't, or doesn't seem to, at least in this few little bit of a revelation that we get of him. And Justin, you and I were talking about this, and it's like Chris was probably even worse. Like the way they
Oh
describe
yeah.
the Chris from this universe, he was probably even worse than his brother. But I do want to shout out John Cena for this episode the most. I think outside of two Adrians at once being what some of the most impressive like movement and gun handling that I've ever seen in my entire life. I think John Cena, just the performance in this, and seeing Keith die, and the way that his face is his reaction is so fantastic. And
Well,
I
Keith
think
doesn't die,
he
right?
does such a good job. Sorry, almost died, but in
No,
his
yeah,
mind, it's like he's dying in that moment.
No, he's being attacked, right? Like, and
Mhm.
he's, you know, he has the opportunity to save him, and he has this like guttural emotional moment, and yeah, like John Cena delivers some of the most emotional work, I think, in this episode,
Mhm.
which was great. And same with David Denman. I think he did a great job as well. But yeah, like with Augie, you know, in this revelation, it was just such an interesting twist on the idea of like nature versus nurture, and yeah, it just caught me off guard. And I thought it was really interesting to share in that experience with Chris. You know what I mean? Like to have that moment where, because we obviously know who his father is, he knows who his father is, and to hear some of this, you know, this universe's Augie talk in this way, it's kind of like, you know, you can understand what Chris is going through, and we as an audience are also like, what the fuck? Like, is this guy not nearly as bad? So yeah, those were strong. But you know, at the end of that episode, they end up back in their proper universe, and Chris surrenders himself to Argus, and also hands over his portal door. That's what I'm going to call it. It's a portal door. Is that what it's called? I guess that's, you know what,
No, it's like
that's what
quantum unfolding closet or something.
I like.
QC.
Portal door better than.
Okay, fine.
And then, sorry,
um,
just before we move on, I do just
Sure.
also want to shout out Stephen Blackheart for the end credits. I think was in this one when he says, "I'm about to drown this whole keyboard."
Yeah,
Because he had just been out of prison.
You guys might want to leave.
yeah,
Just
that's that James
awful.
Gunn. That's that James Gunn humor for you, right?
So good, so funny.
Masturbatory humor. It's always the best.
Sydney, what's his name? Sydney Happerson.
Happerson, that's
Fantastic.
his name.
So happy
Yeah.
he's still in the DCU.
And he's also, yeah, he made his appearance. You know, like again, the idea of seeing Lex, you know, I know we talked about that before, but just touching on that, like
Mhm.
we knew we were going to get someone from that movie. A lot of people thought it would be Mr. Terrific. Maybe Superman would just do a quick cameo appearance. Similarly, I guess he kind of did. Both of those characters did, as they, you know, retconned that whole opening, which is now everyone's been talking about. You know, they redid the opening. The question is, and Nate, you were actually asking this: did they
Mhm.
do it to the episode?
I didn't go
Because
back and check yet.
No, I
We
know.
should have
So
before
like
recording
James
this.
Gunn
But-
says he wants to do that, though. He's okay with doing that if it means
He's gonna
canon
George
is more
Lucas it.
straightforward.
that's fine.
Going-
I'm fine with that. That's a small thing that is, you know, it's not like he's going in and re-editing it so it makes more sense, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's fine. And even if there is a mention of like a Batman and a Wonder Woman in the episode, it's fine. That those characters apparently
They
already
could very
exist
well
in the
exist.
universe.
I mean,
Yeah,
we've heard
exactly.
Bloodhaven
So-
and everything like that. So like this is
Exactly.
a fully fleshed out DC universe.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So, yeah.
to go back and like, you know, fix episode that finale from season 1 with that would be interesting. But yes, sticking to the course of talking about this finale, let's now get into it. I would love to know, like, what did you guys think of this finale?
I mean, it was far happier ending than I was expecting. I the entire time we see the montage at the end there, as you know, they finally rally with Chris and get him back, and they stand up after they realize what Rick Flag is doing. I really thought it was something that was going to go terribly wrong at the end, like someone was going to die as they're walking out there. But I mean, I think it's really cool that we got to see what Rick Flag is doing. This is very much a setup for a season 3. Like James Gunn is confident that they're coming back, so this seems to be just setting up the next stage.
The guy is pretty much the one who makes the decisions on.
Yes,
if
I
it's
know.
coming
So
back,
like
so-
he knows it's coming back. So like he's like he isn't wasting any time just being like,
Yeah.
this storylines that we're setting up in this season, we'll be exploring at a later date. And I like that. I just wish we got a bit more of a resolution in this one, because the abruptness we got with Chris being shunted to sanctuary,
But
or what was it what they're calling it?
Yeah,
Salvation.
Planet
Salvation.
Salvation. Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Sorry. We're getting shunted to salvation, and just that's the end. Seemed kind of abrupt and weird and out of nowhere, but I guess was the
Yeah.
intention.
But
I don't know.
that was the surprise cliffhanger of the episode, right? Like you're supposed to live in this sort of happy moment, and things are working out. They've gotten their shit together. They're now a team, official team, and then it's kind of taken away from you very, very quickly. Nate, how about yourself? What were your initial thoughts on this finale?
It's funny because I think we got to a certain point in this finale during the beginning when we were, kind of we see. I loved that we got the first date energy, getting to sort of see what I imagine was their first kiss, and how that sort of stuck with Chris. And
Yeah, that's the
I
scene he keeps referencing. Did it mean anything to you
right,
on the boat? Like that's the boat, right? So to
yeah.
come to that moment, it is full circle. It is completes this sort of arc of understanding what has been driving Chris so much.
But I think when we get to Harcourt, she's got her job back, so to speak, in a certain way, and we're started to go through those different doors. Rest in peace, that whatever his name
Klein.
is, Klein. Rest in
Klein.
peace, Klein, from all
Who
those
threw up on the stripper?
And yeah, he threw up on the stripper, and then was horribly embarrassed about it because of Flurry, and then had his face eaten off by little sprinkle gremlins
Nightmare
or whatever
shits is
from
what they
what are
called them.
What are they
Nightmare
called?
shits is what the chick
Nightmare
called them.
shits from Candyland.
Yeah.
I loved I loved sort of getting to explore and sort of see a little bit further into the timeline, if you will, than I thought we were going to. But it is weird because we get to a certain point in this episode, and I wrote down in my notes, I was like, this kind of feels more like an episode 1 of season 3 than it does a full finale. But I have to say, by the time we get to Foxy Shazam and we get to see them all sort of making this new thing together, and Chris has realized that the family that he's been looking for and gone to a completely different dimension for has really just been with him the entire time, was really lovely. And when that music starts playing, it hits. And the music, all the music this episode was really, you could tell that James Gunn was like, I got to squeeze in as many of these as I can.
We got Steel Panther, man, and like one of the best Steel Panther songs, "Fucking My Heart in the Ass." Oh, such a great montage there too.
So funny.
Well, so I think I think as far as a finale, I think this was good. I think I might have expected a bit more, especially with all the hype around it being a bit longer, and just the idea of like, I did see a trailer. It did look like we were going to see a little bit more into these doors and see interact with what else is out there, maybe leaving us with some surprises. And I think it definitely there are some surprises that were there. That big skeleton.
Did we see
skull.
that skeleton world before anywhere else? Why do
No,
I
it's in a
remember
comic though. It's on a comic apparently.
Okay.
And
it looks like a metal album cover, to be honest with you.
it definitely does. It
does.
looked like something straight out of like a metal nightmare, if you will. But yeah, I think it, overall it delivered.
Yeah.
It was definitely more character focused.
Mhm.
I think it was, as you pointed out, Nate, it was about Chris understanding that the family that he wanted, or the one that he wanted, was the one that he already had in the 11th Street Kids. And I think that's a really great sort of revelation for Chris, especially having seen him on this journey. And season 2, it does wrap up very quickly though. I do find, I feel like the whole montage sequence, I feel like a lot of this episode was filled out with montages and spending more moments with things, and really the story was simple, discovering the fact that Rick Flag was trying to find a prison, and they decide, well, we're gonna make our own thing to combat that. And then at the end of it, it's Chris gets yanked and put into this prison as a test subject, sort of.
But I did like how and I'm so sorry, I don't remember the name of the guy who is I guess above Flag in sort of doing all this stuff on the
the
board.
council that he's
The
on, that he's talking
councilman
to,
guy or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do love that irony that he points out, of just because I literally was like, he's just doing what Lex was doing, but in a like
But
slightly different way. And so the way that he points that out and being like, dude, the irony of you being so against Lex and everything he stood for, and now all of a sudden you're repeating his mistakes.
that was strange though, wasn't it? Because it felt like we were getting a bit of a. I was thinking that there was going to be some sort of reveal that like his mind had been taken over by one of those creatures from season 1.
Oh, that
Oh,
would be
Dr.
cool.
Fly?
Yeah, and I wondered if that, so because like his demeanor in that moment seemed to change, even to the point where Sacha Bordeaux is like looking at him like, you know, like she's not really understanding who he is in that
Yeah.
moment. I don't know if that might be something that's going to be revealed. Even like his whole demeanor throughout the rest of the episode, the way he was so consumed, but then to see him throw Chris in there, that's why he was so consumed, because he was really looking for a prison for Chris.
That's it.
A place that
He's
Chris
not trying
Chris
to be that good of a
couldn't
guy.
get him. Yeah.
No, I don't think that's it though, because
No?
like based on his where he came from in Creature Commandos and how he got the
Mm.
shit kicked out of him by a bunch of metas and they backstabbed him very much Task Force X style, where they almost left him for dead.
Mm.
He has a huge grudge against metas now, so I think like this is setting up his character arc where he is no longer going to be trusting any metas whatsoever. He is gung ho fully on the Lex train now. So
Kudos to James then for carrying over that I guess, if you will, that thread from Creature Commandos, because I haven't seen it myself, so that's good to know that there's something else there that's kind of
because
his
his
motivation.
character was so different in Creature Commandos, and then he's
Mhm.
broken by the end of that series, and you bring him into this series, and he is almost unrecognizable, despite this being in the same universe as that animated show. You think it'd be more along the same lines, and apparently he was supposed to have white hair for the show to be more in line with the animated show, but because of other conflicts, he couldn't dye his hair white. So
Yeah, there's
that was
probably
one thing
something
that people are going to be
No, I know,
like,
but
oh, it's
there's
not the
probably
same
something.
universe or whatever, and there's probably
Yeah.
theories about why he has dark hair. No, it's just contract
It's-
stuff. He couldn't dye it white.
For sure, it's the reason why when they did the reshoots for Justice League, Henry Cavill couldn't shave his mustache.
Exactly. Yes.
Because
along those
they
lines.
had to keep it for Mission Impossible, so they had to like just like
CG mustache, dude.
That's how you get CG mustache on an iPhone. It's like, let's make this footage look like shit, and then let's try to go in there, and it's just like, no matter how bad you make that footage look, it should never have been done.
Mm-hmm.
I want to shout out Danielle Brooks. We talked about John Cena's performance in the previous episode. I think Danielle Brooks as ads.
Oh, her monologue in this one.
But well, there's two moments really that hit for me. It was her breaking up with Key. Really was really strong, really well done, and I think that was a great way to kind of give closure to that part of the storyline, while also showing us that Adebayo is moving on. She is going to sort of move into this next chapter, as they all are. And then I think her talking to Chris and just explaining to him like why he's so important to her. I think that hit like the most in that sequence for sure.
And why he's so important to all of them, right? Like, because like I think the idea that they all went after him, they all need him to be okay because they have been made better by him. I think that was a really, touching thing. And the idea of looking at your bad luck as something that is doomed on you, it's again to show the blindness that Chris's character has, where he's not looking at the bigger picture. He's just looking at all of the things that have negatively impacted him and how he is doomed for this life. So Danielle Brooks did a fantastic job. This whole cast was fantastic. You can tell that they have a great sense of chemistry with one another. And it shows in every character interaction. Do you know what I mean? There's never a character interaction that doesn't feel authentic.
And I'm glad they took their time with those moments, just because, to your point from earlier, like how there are a bunch of montages. Don't get me wrong, I was so happy to see Fleury, his growth and just being so nice to Adrian, sort of in his own way. But then to see him, he's back. Judo Master is with them, which is excellent. That was such a I had a big pop over that. I was happy to see he's with them. And just like the biggest one for me, which it's just funny because they've really hated each other so much throughout the entirety of both seasons, was Eagly and Economos coming together and sharing a hug. And I almost like cried. I teared up. I was like,
Did they share a hug, or did he just kind of like Did
He put his
kinda,
hand on
like,
his shoulder, man. That's
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
a hug for Economos. He's
Yeah,
socially
yeah,
awkward
yeah.
man like that. That's a hug for
sure.
him.
Oh.
Like,
I thought, because what was he doing? Economist was trying to do something with
he was
his
trimming his nails, which like no one
Right.
else can do. Like
Yeah,
even
exactly.
even
Yeah.
Chris has a hard time doing that. He said that in the
Yeah.
first season. So
Yeah, because he gets scratched and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So nice.
No, for sure. And I think that was a really
Well,
nice
I mean,
moment.
you knew they bonded when Economos is the one who was looking after Eagly while Chris was in prison. Like he walking through that house. I'm like, what is he looking for the entire
Yeah.
time? Just opening all the doors. Like, he's looking for Eagly. That's nice.
Yeah, exactly. So Eagly
Yeah.
has someone, and he's just in the corner because he misses his buddy. It's like,
Yeah.
felt so bad for him. Yeah, James Gunn
Yeah.
knows how to write for animals. That's for sure.
Yeah, and just a happy ending, ish. Again, for the most part, I was very happy with that final montage. Again, I had a smile on my face the entire time, even despite me being like something bad's going to happen. But I'm loving
It definitely
this.
felt it. So like in my opinion, yeah, it was nice to see them all kind of come together and see them kind of do this thing. It felt a little a little bloated. Like it didn't need to be that long of a montage, but I get this idea of like, we spent so much time watching these characters through this season kind of be divided, following one another, trying to find each other and trying to get each other to stay in a very, anchored place. And now here we are with this new endeavor, which is called Checkmate. Is there any significance to that, Darcy, in any DC comics? Like, is it another agency, a counter agency?
I'm not the most well versed in DC. Like Marvel is more my forte, but as far as I know, there might be one. Vaguely,
Nate seems to have his hand up.
I just did research.
Did you do some internet?
I'm not a DC Comics
That's
guy.
fine.
I'm barely.
Yeah, I was
going to
ask ChatGPT too.
Okay, I asked ChatGPT, and no. I asked my girlfriend ChatGPT. No, I did a quick search on it because I was really intrigued. I was like, okay, this Checkmate thing sounds really interesting.
Well, just because they hung on it for like such a long little while, and the reveal of it just felt like it was supposed to mean something. So
yeah,
please,
it is.
listen.
So it was a part of a comic run. It was a series. I believe Amanda Waller sort of started it. So it's interesting sort of seeing how Waller's not really in the equation in this version of Checkmate, but really it seems to have stemmed from Adebayo, which is really, really cool. And again, taking what she sort of wanted to do and expanding upon it and being able to do that now with her family in a sense, even though they are using wherever that money came from, who knows? We'll see. But taking a bad thing and turning it into something good seems to be sort of the idea of not just things like the Suicide Squad, but also from what I've read, stuff like Checkmate. So
it seems like it's the theme of this whole series or this whole season is to, kind of take take the bad and make something good out of it, kind of thing, right? Like, whether it be something as like blood money, you know what I mean, or understanding your own, your life's existence and the bad that you've had and how you turn that into the good.
Vigilante is clearly very good at what he does. If he's managed to amass that sort of fortune of drugs and money and stuff like that, and no one's come after him, like he is good at what he does. If mafias and mobs aren't chasing this guy down to get back their stolen property,
he's telling them that he's selling his Beanie Babies online, and that's how he's making the money, and they're believing him probably.
But he's
also
so
much money.
The thing that's great about Vigilante or Adrian is that he is just such a basic guy. Like I feel like we would get along great with Adrian. And then we would be blown away by the revelation of knowing that he was Vigilante, because it's like, how could this guy be that?
It is a very big leap of logic if you just know the outside character and
Although I will say, as three men who absolutely adore their mamas, I cannot stand for how he treats his mom.
Yeah, she is an angel on earth.
She's so nice.
She
plays
so
D&D. She plays D&D. Come on, she's awesome. Yeah, no, you get better at that, Adrian. But other than that, we can be buds for sure.
Well, I like buds. I like smoking buds. So
do you think Adrian? But I don't think Adrian would do that, though. I don't know.
No, I don't think
he's too clean.
If it was legal, he'd be fine. If he came to Canada, he would probably do it because it's legal here.
There you go.
Yes, he might not though. He feels like, I think he'd be a prude about it. He'd be like, it's how many people.
Well, he drinks. So he drinks. I'm assuming he'd be okay with a bit
That's
of partying.
true.
He hangs out with Chris. Chris smokes weed.
That is true. He does.
Mhm.
There you
Just
go.
saying that. So
Yeah, yeah, he does smoke a fat joint on that porch. Well, look, in our spoiler free, we didn't give a final score
Yeah.
for the show just because we hadn't seen all the episodes. So I'm happy to say that today we get that opportunity to give a final score and any final thoughts that you guys have, which will be on a rating of 1 to 5 portal doors. Darce, start with you, my friend.
yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this season. I mean, I think it was pretty obvious after the first 5 episodes,
Mhm.
we're all definitely on the Peacemaker season 2 train. And by
Mhm.
the end of the season, I'm still on it. Again, incredible performances across the last 3 episodes that we got, and the bomb drops and the setups that we got for potential future stories are incredible. I can't wait to see what the 11th Street kids get up to next, how they're going to, go on their next adventure, considering what happens to Chris at the end of the season. Again, my biggest issue with this finale, I think, is the fact that it is such a setup. I would have liked, again, a bit more resolution for at least one of these storylines, because I mean, we have Captain Triumph out there. Keith is coming back somehow. Rick Flag getting his up to his devices and working with Lex. That's not going to end well. And then the fact that Chris is stuck somewhere else, like, it was just a setup for what's to come in season 3, I think, or maybe whatever next project. I don't know if it's season 3 or not. Who knows? But yeah, I think as a whole, this is a very strong season, and I am excited for more. So I'll be giving this season of Peacemaker 4.5 out of 5 portal doors. Half a door. Would that
Half a door.
does only half of you
That's
go through it when you try and
You get chopped in half.
get chopped
Like
in
one of
half?
those
Okay, I don't
little
want to go
it
through
might
it.
have just
gremlin
been one
guys.
that's like just broken. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a
Okay,
broken
okay.
door. I don't think it
Yeah.
let open personally. You
Just a
know,
half a door.
'Cause-
Just it's one of the
yeah,
ones
because
that's broken.
half
I
the
get
handle
that.
would be gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Depending on where the
yeah.
handle is in the door, but you
Okay,
it
okay.
wouldn't serve the purpose.
It would be tough to go. But wait, so if you'd have to bend over, do you have to do? How do
You
you
have
go
to
through
The door
it?
limbo
just
through the
wouldn't work.
door.
You
So
You
limbo
just
through the door.
yeah.
So is it like a whole universe of
Limbo.
limbo people?
Oh,
Think
I don't
about
know.
that.
There you go. There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah. This is like a
Nate.
James Gunn joke going on too long. Yeah. You want me to? Okay, I'll go. Yes. This finale, Darcy, I'm right there with you. I think it's interesting because I think the resolutions were there for the majority of characters, and we got to spend a good amount of time with really important characters to get that resolution. I think getting to see that the first date and the boat moment and all that stuff. I think there was some stuff that was lingering that we got resolutions for. I think there is some other stuff sort of in the more grand scheme of things that felt a
yeah,
little less resolved. And that's maybe where we sort of lost a bit of focus in terms of how to do that. And then kind of wrapping it up really quickly, like you said, with a montage of the other
Happily ever
characters getting their
after. Yeah.
resolutions. Exactly. And
Yeah.
so again, that hit for me on the level of like with the Foxy Shazam music playing and like, oh, Iggly's, oh, Juno Mask, okay, great, oh, Flurry's so funny, it worked for the most part. But again, a big chunk of this episode, I was like, I feel like I'm watching season 3, episode 1, which isn't a terrible thing, but just doesn't work as well in my brain as a finale. But this season of Peacemaker on a whole felt better. It felt more consistent than last season for all the right reasons. I think it continues to fill in gaps and pushes forward in its own way the DCU. When I say pushes forward, I don't mean massive leaps, but just in ways that sort of tell us, hey, this is the next part of that story focused on the 11th Street kids and their story, which I love. I love the fact that it is tied and attached to the grander world that James Gunn is creating, but also focused on the 11th Street kids. I think the twists and turns this season were wild and wilder and more impactful. And I think I don't know. I think it did set up some really interesting stuff. But like you said, Darcy, the finale was kind of a more of a setup. But James Gunn is blending humor, heart, batshit craziness, and it all works really well. I really enjoyed this season. And I have to say, as much as I love Marvel television and as much as I love my Marvel animation, I think alongside Gen Z and The Boys, this is some of the best superhero television on superhero storytelling on television that we've gotten in a long time. I'm giving season 2 of Peacemaker right alongside you a 4.5 out of 5 portal doors. Another half
See, it has a
door.
good ring to it.
Portal doors.
Yeah, there you go.
Dordle.
When you say it, for
It
sure.
sounds like
Just
you
call
want to
them
sell it
Dordles.
like Dordles.
Dordles. There you go.
That's way better. Darcy.
That's it. That's an economist thing.
You heard
right
it here
there.
first.
Yeah,
Here first.
yeah, you know
I
what
couldn't
I
even say first.
You heard
right.
it here
Dang
first. Dordles.
Dang it, I got too excited.
Well, when you're talking about Dordles, how can you not get excited? We'll be right back.
Right?
Oh, Dordles. So you forgot to mention Invincible, which I think is also a good one on the list there of
Yes.
of great
It
things.
falls within. I don't know why
the superhero storytelling.
I group The Boys and Invincible together in my brain, but you're right. Absolutely, yes. I think they're all on that level of doing something different enough, but standing in a space that just sort of. It just really, when it hits, it really hits on different levels.
I think they also afford themselves because their universe is smaller.
Yep.
In the sense of like the scale of the stories that exist in the comic books for like The Boys or Invincible, but
there's a little less pressure, even maybe to a certain degree.
Whereas with the DC, there's a lot that's there, right? There's a lot of key characters, some iconic ones, and I think overall, when I think about season 2 of Peacemaker, I do think it's a really strong follow up, and it not only builds the universe, which in a really rich way with, like, as you were saying, like some batshit crazy stuff, twists and turns that are just bizarre, and really honing in on this multiversal aspect of this universe and what's capable of it. I think it presented itself as really fleshing out the universe at a fast rate. And that's good, right? Because a TV show, it's longer, but it's like shorter episodes in the sense that there's more time there to help flesh that out. And I think, there were some things in it that felt very exciting and in really unexpected ways as well. And I think, this season, it shows really what James Gunn is capable of as a storyteller, in my opinion. And Superman was good, don't get me wrong, and I loved it, but it was definitely had more of a classic and albeit more conventional tone. Whereas Peacemaker feels like it's the other side of Gunn's creative coin. Like it's weirder, it's more daring, it's unapologetically alternative in all the best ways. Like it's doing the thing differently than anything else, and that's why I feel like this is such a better representation, not just of James Gunn, but of what the DC can do. Right. Darcy, you've seen Creatures Commander. You loved it. I know we talked about it, and you also applauded it for its unique storytelling and its approach. So, it feels like the DCU or the DCU, whatever it is really going to get its growth and development through television more so than films. But the films need to be events like a Superman movie, and maybe a Batman movie or a Wonder Woman movie. But I think we're going to see more stories, better stories for the DCU being told through television, and this is an excellent example of that. But yeah, I enjoyed this offbeat nature of this show, and how it just makes the new DCU feel fresh in a lot of ways. So yeah, I'm with you guys. I wasn't blown away by the finale, but I appreciated what they were trying to do. I like the idea that they said, and I feels like this trend too with some of these shows where it's like, it's not the finale that's really the big episode. It's sometimes the penultimate episode that is the episode that right. Like I think the only one really this year that had a really good, like, massive finale was Severance. That was like, you know what I mean, in some ways, but also that its penultimate was really, really, really good.
Sure. But it followed up with an episode that was equally as good. Whereas I think I agree with you with this season. I think episode 7 is the best episode of the season.
Absolutely. It is definitely one of the best, and followed up by episode 6, and the middle part there is really, really good. But yeah, it does feel like this finale left me wanting a little bit more, but it did the thing that it needed to do. It closed out the character arcs. It gave us more resolution to the characters and setting them up for, maybe not necessarily like setting them up for, yes, a season 3, but also to have a singular place within the DCU that we can come back and maybe see them, as well as understanding what their mission will be probably in season 3 with Chris now being in this new prison in an alternate dimension. But I do think that a lot of this isn't just to set up for future Peacemaker shows, but the future of the DCU. And I think that's what he's done really, really well. So yeah, I'm going to be giving this one as well 4.5 out of 5 Dordles.
Dordles.
There you go. But not before we kind of wrap things up, it was kind of talking about it there for a little bit. What's next? I kind of shared where I think things are going to go a little bit. I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys. What do you think? What do you think is next for Peacemaker and I don't know the future of the DCU? Because we're obviously seeing elements from Superman trickle in. What do we think is next?
Yeah. I don't know if I have anything revolutionary. I love, we're recording this really quickly after watching the finale. And so normally I love to like toil away in my dungeon and to come up with theories and what have you. But I did jump into the James Gunn does a podcast, which now I want to go back and like watch all these episodes. I didn't realize he did like an after show podcast with different guests with him and Steve Agee.
Yeah, it was the Peacemaker. It was the Peacemaker one, right?
Peacemaker, the official podcast, is what it's called. Yeah. And so he had Jennifer Holland and Steve Agee on for the finale. I just jumped into the final 15 minutes of the final episode that came out tonight as we're recording this. And one thing he did say was, he said Peacemaker is definitely coming back. In what form? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So to me, that makes me feel like we are going to see Peacemaker, like you said, Justin, prior to a Peacemaker season 3. I think we'll definitely see Salvation prior to a season 3. And I think we could see that show up. Do we see it happening in Superman, Man of Tomorrow? Is it going to be sooner than that in Supergirl? Do we see it in the Lantern series? I am really interested to sort of see how he melds these things. I really think it will be in a movie. And I also think that with Checkmate, I think Adebayo is going to have some time leading Checkmate. I hope she's the leader of Checkmate, just given from what I've read about the fact that it was Amanda Waller that originally started in the comic books. But I do wonder if, according to from what I've read as well, Maxwell Lord also does take over at a certain point in time. And so I'm wondering if there's a way that maybe we get back to Checkmate and see that happening. But ultimately, I the biggest thing I will say, and it's just kind of, I think we could see Peacemaker showing up next in a movie before he's in a season 3. But I don't know if what do you guys think?
I'm leaning more towards a season 3. That's again where he's left off. It'd be very hard to get there unless the next movie sets up another interdimensional threat, which I feel like you probably wouldn't want to repeat the same threat for a second movie at least. Again, we just had Superman dealing with that. So I honestly, I think we're going to find like Chris isn't alone on that planet. Like they couldn't have done a very thorough search of that entire universe at least. So like Chris being on this planet is going to raise flags from somewhere and he's going to come back with another Earth's team, basically, is what I'm expecting. Is that we're not going to get the Earth X Overman or anything like that, but we might get like Earth 3's Ultraman or something like something will be out there. It'll be even worse than Earth X, and I feel like that's going to be almost the pathway for Chris to get back, or it'll be Keith him trying to find the door is going to find the door to Chris.
I was going to say, does Keith find his way to him, and then they have to reconcile on Salvation? Maybe they have to survive together on Salvation. But the other thing I did want to quickly just mention, because you pointed it out, I mean, James Gunn loves prisons apparently and prison breaks, and Adrian shares his love of prison breaks with James Gunn, and we've seen so many prison breaks from James Gunn over the course of the few films that he's had constantly, it seems like. So I can only see the fact that the 11th Street kids, I mean, they know where this is. The door is consistently there, I'm assuming, unless is the plan to move where that door is.
The door is going to move on the planet. It's always going to go to the same planet, but it'll appear in different spots on the planet. And if they already know that.
But in terms of the door, in terms of the entrance to the dordle, to the
dordle can be moved by flag, though. I mean, they already moved it from from the one house it was to
so
here.
He's going to have to be smarter than that, because there's no way that he's just going to leave it there and then. Because I'm thinking like maybe Adrian and them just go in and try to break Chris out, and that would be way too easy.
That would be great too, but we'll see.
I think they'll know. Like they again. So with Harcourt and Sasha both knowing the door, because they were
Yeah.
the ones that revealed it. I think they know they're going to know where he is. They're going to have to figure out some sort of heist for them to open that door and get into there so that they can save him. And that'll be interesting. So yeah, I think that will definitely be the season 3. I think even season 3 could be a more of a focus on Chris in this universe, because it is like Salvation is something from the DC comics. It is something that it was a run of it was a run of a series. It was called Final Crisis. Salvation runs is the inspiration, apparently. As Nerdist has reported.
Yes.
And it also does feature a lot of villains. So I think that this is all, very very meaningful.
A lot of animals, apparently. I don't know.
Well, a lot of
what were those
creatures of some
animals?
kind. But I wonder, like, to your point, I wonder if we see Chris in like sort of, or Peacemaker in some sort of cameo in some, maybe a Supergirl or something like that, or in a Lanterns or something like that. And he's obviously more adapted to that environment. But we don't understand how, or what's happened. But then that's what season 3 talks about, is how he's kind of gotten into that. Because I could honestly see season 3 being a majority of us with just Chris and not with the 11th Street kids. And like, we'll see them in
they'll pop up
movies
before he will.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I think that's something, because they're on the main timeline and now he's going to be off.
Or do we get a full season 3 without John Cena?
It's just Checkmate. Yeah, it's not Peacemaker. It's Checkmate season
or maybe the series is called Checkmate Darcy.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, I know.
It's not called Peacemaker. It's called Checkmate.
He's Timoning you. He's doing the Timon thing. You're the Pumbaa. What about? I'll take your idea. Yeah, exactly. No, I think those are all very possible. I think the biggest question is when and where some of these characters might show up, and I could see Checkmate showing up in Supergirl. You know what I mean? I don't. Maybe if they're, because I know there's a lot more of like space stuff that's going on in Supergirl.
Again, I can see them popping up more in Lanterns. Like they almost like an episode where the two guys need to work with them for a case, because they're cops on there solving
that makes sense.
Some meta case that's gone wrong, basically. So
yeah, and like one of them is working with the Lantern. Yeah, that works. I actually think that's you're right. There you go. There's 2-0 for us.
But also, what if they're working with one of them's working with the Lanterns? Just what about that?
Okay.
Right, before we finish this thing, I also want to bring up one thing. James Gunn is great and all, except I kind of hate him for making me feel weird about liking the band Halloween, because they're a fantastic German power metal band. But if they're one of the biggest bands in Nazi universe, then maybe I shouldn't like them.
And sorry, is it Halloween or Halloween?
Halloween with an E instead of an A. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because it's called Halloween.
fantastic power metal
hello
band.
to your ween.
No,
okay.
No,
okay.
They're
you know what?
They're pumpkin themed. It's Halloween themed.
Through this Dordle, guys. I'll see you later.
Yeah, please. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, that is it for our spoiler-filled discussion for Peacemaker Season 2. If you want to write into the show and let us know your thoughts on Dordles, on any of the events that happened in this season, feel free to do so. You can reach out to us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT, or on Instagram and TikTok at wearegeekcentric. Keep in mind, we have a ton of episodes out now for you to enjoy, including our most recent spoiler-free reviews for Tron Ares, The Smashing Machine, Marvel Animation's Marvel Zombies, and Gen V Season 2. Oh yeah. Plus we have a ton of interviews available on our podcast feed, as well as on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/geekcentric, like our most recent interview with Brian Andrews and Brad Winderbaum for Marvel Zombies. Nate had the opportunity to sit down with them again and chat and talk about all things spooky. So if you're into spooky stuff, because it is the spooky season.
The spooky.
I wonder how many times. Yeah, I wonder how many times I can say spooky. Yeah, exactly. I'm doing my, I'm doing the Scooby-Doo thing, whatever. You can enjoy that. That's available both on podcast feeds and on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/geekcentric. We got
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah.
We got a lot more stuff as we head towards the end of the year. More reviews, more interviews. So stay locked in. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on our socials. All in the show notes. All right, that's it. Nate, Darcy, thank you so much for joining me for this spoiler-filled discussion. And as we say,
Love you.
Laters.
Peace.
Maker. It's so seductive.